Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. I'm Mike Corradini, CEO and founder of Product Mentor, and today we're going to go over some of the best ways that you can ensure success by avoiding the most common ways that we see business owners and startups fail. And what's really interesting is a lot of people don't even start a business because of the fear of failure. It's a really interesting thing. What I've noticed in talking to entrepreneurs over the years is that they really are concerned about what people are going to think if they do fail. If they fail, whether this be a spouse, whether it be their kids, whether it be their parents, they're so caught up and so concerned about what other people think if they should fail that they don't even take that first step. And so, just for the record, I've failed probably more than anyone that you know. And it's the reason why I'm where I am today. And so you really want to try to reset your mindset when it comes to failure, because failure is not always a bad thing. Obviously, some types of failure can be more detrimental to your startup than others. But either way, that's what we're going to dive into today and really show you what you can do to avoid some of those common errors that we see people make. And so we have a special member on the show today. He is our master product mentor here at Product Mentor, and he's going to be discussing with me some of those mistakes that you can avoid. And so without further ado, let me bring Stephen into the show. Stephen, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. So the brutal fact is, Stephen, most startups fail, right? It's a topic that not a lot of people want to cover, but we're gonna cover it anyway today because I think it's so important. And these reasons apply to all types of businesses. It doesn't matter if it's a traditional brick and mortar business, or selling a product online, or if you've developed an app, or even if you have an insurance company, right? I mean, all of these different businesses and startups have the same things in common as to why they fail. And so, Stephen, I'm going to have you kick this off.
Okay.
What is the first reason that you see most startups fail?
What I see, and I've done quite a bit of research and articles state, is the number one reason it starts is they run out of money. And it doesn't mean that they run out of money because of they didn't have it to begin with. They had it, they didn't really plan and maximize their budget. So they made some bad decisions and they may have spent the money on whether it be some marketing company or put it on too much, if it was an online, onto PPC, and they just made some bad decisions and then they run out of just funding and budget.
Yeah, it's interesting because cash for a business is like oxygen, right? And when that oxygen goes away and the resources dry up, I mean that's a reason most businesses shut down. And to your point on overspending, one of the biggest places we see people overspend is on their development, right? So what I mean by that is they'll spend all their money developing their app or developing their product instead of using pre-orders to actually finance their development and letting their customer finance their launch. Other times they'll spend all this money on a 20-year patent when you could probably get away with a 1-year provisional until you get traction. And so knowing how to allocate your money is really important. And to your point, Stephen, if you allocate it wrong and overspend on the wrong things, you could run out of that oxygen very easily. So what is the second reason that you see most startups fail?
I would say it'd have to be just a lack of detailed strategic research. Research and doing it all up front is so, so crucial. And the research means that you can do it yourself. It's not like you need somebody hired to go out there and pay some marketing company to do it. But what you have to do is you go out, you learn your competition, you do competitive shopping, you go online, and then what you do is you go and you understand who your customer is, who your demographics are, and then when you understand how these priorities, what you do is then you try to create a buzz, and then you try to find out what are the best sellers out there, what's failed. I always go when I do competitive shopping, being a retailer, I always go not only looking how things are selling on the top shelf, but I look in the clearance section, what failed, because failures tell you just as much as what succeeded. And all of this research is just a matter of the I've been doing my whole life is just so imperative, no matter what project you do, is to do the market and then look at whether it's a product, whether it's an app, whatever it is. It's so important to just know the facts up front.
Yeah, research is key. And there's so many ways that you can do research. We don't have time to cover all of them, but something I really like doing is looking at reviews. So if it's an app,
Definitely.
you can look at the App Store reviews. If it's a product, many
Exactly.
times you can look at the Amazon reviews,
Hmm.
and you can see what gripes people have about the competition. And that can not only help you develop new products, but it can also help refine and really help you focus on what the customer is not currently receiving from other choices out in the marketplace. And again, competition's good. Just because there's competition doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue your product or your app idea. It actually is an opportunity to make things better. You might have heard me say these things before, but for example, Apple was not the first company to make a cell phone, right? They weren't even close to the first company. They just upped the game and made it much better. So you want to think about it from that perspective. And then just kind of a final thought on the research topic is customer is king. That mantra is something that we live and die by. Customer is king. And what that means is the biggest mistake we see people make is developing or creating rather a product or an app for themselves instead of for the market. And again, it's one of those things, it's such a simple shift. But when you really think about the idea, the brainchild you're working on right now, for those listeners out there, are you creating something for yourself or are you creating something for the market? Really important question to ask yourself. So moving on to number 3.
Well, you said that, Mike, that point about the reviews and about doing this strategy, and it is so true. Again, as I said, as a retail buyer, whenever I would launch a product, what I did is every day I'd be checking the reviews, because you either get a 1 or a 5, and then you can learn from the reviews so much. An example of one I had, it was a tablet that I launched, and I tested the item, and I'm looking at the reviews, and somebody said that they were zooming and they couldn't see. It was blurry. I got the sample back from the person deliberately when I heard that review is bad, and we had a protective screen on the app to protect the screen. They never peeled it off, so I immediately, and again, it's just being proactive, went out to the warehouse, had the warehouse man take everyone out of the box. We put a protective screen over it that said "Please remove" in big bold letters in red, and that problem went away. So looking at the reviews are so crucial. It can be your break or your failure, and looking at reviews of people that made mistakes.
And you took that quote unquote failure and just used it as a temporary setback instead of looking at it as, oh crap, like we're done. No, and back to me failing, and I'm sure you've had your fair shares too, Stephen.
Mhm.
That's what it's all about. It's figuring out, how do I take this temporary setback and turn it into an opportunity, which is a whole art in and of itself. But that was a really great example that you shared. So what is the third reason, Stephen, that most startups fail?
This kind of relates back to research, but it's just being in the wrong market. Sometimes being in the wrong place at the right time or being in the wrong place at the wrong time is so, so true. That's where back to doing the research up front and checking out the market. Is this market saturated? If you're going to try to go into, for example, a mattress, which when I launched mattresses, we were up against what's called the three S's, Sealy, Serta, Simmons. And we came out with Tempur-Pedic at the time, which is a memory foam, and nobody knew what memory foam was in the world. And it was a bit of a challenge, but we did the research, but we did it in such a way that we came out and we differentiated ourselves. So being in the wrong market, I guess an example of that would be, unfortunately, with travel down about 54% now, launching an item for an airplane or travel may not do well now. So you could launch it, but you got to give it a year or so when we move on and the business comes back on travel. So it's common sense, but it's just something that, again, doing the research before you do it.
And yeah, to your point, Stephen, and just to kind of add some color to this example, I had one of the biggest mortgage lead companies, excuse me, in the country back in 2005 to 2008. And selling mortgage leads back then was easy, because anybody could get a loan. And in 2008, when all the credit markets dried up, I couldn't sell a mortgage lead to pay my bills. Like, it was basically impossible because of the way the economy and the way things changed. And so that's a great example of why one of my businesses failed. I had to shut it down, which was okay because it was all part of my journey, all part of how I ended up where I am today. But yeah, I had a really large business crash and fail and burn because the market no longer fit what I was providing. And I'm sure if I ever was to get back into selling mortgage leads, I would do extremely well because, once again, interest rates are so low, you can't produce enough of them right now. But I digress. So, Stephen, what is the fourth reason that most startups fail?
This one is somewhat, you can't predict, but it's just a bad partnership. Again, it goes back to doing some research before you start and with the person, whether it be your uncle, whoever it is you have to make sure that you complement one another, and that just setting up a relationship that, people have a different strength. And sometimes if people have it's like in a marriage, sometimes if you're two positives, you clash, where it's much better. I find, everyone has their lane, and it's so much simpler when you have complementing people. And that partnership could be anything from, again, a person in your business or somebody that you go to, whether it be a marketing company or a company that you go to for help. Is that you got to make sure you ride the right horse, I guess it's saying in the expression, and that you really do some research and you make sure you have the right person to complement you so you can move forward efficiently.
That's a great point. I think the first step in finding someone to complement you is to know what you are good at and enjoy doing. And there's a lot of different categories. We could get really granular, but just kind of high level. If you're a detail person, for example, you may want to partner with someone that's very social and likes to be in front of the camera, is outspoken. Where if you are that social butterfly promotion type of a person, you may want to partner with somebody that is detail oriented and is the opposite of you. What you don't want to do is partner with somebody that has your same strengths, because you're going to miss that dynamic that you could otherwise have. And then my other quick piece of advice here, a lot of partnerships out there are 50-50 partnerships. And in my experience and what I've seen, those are usually the ones that fail as well. There really needs to be a clear leader. So if you have investors, if you have partners, if you have other people in your business, make sure that there's one chief, so that you don't run into problems later when there's a dead heat, as they say.
Just like in my marriage, my wife's the boss.
Well, if you've given her the 51% and you're 49, then you're a smart man because, things have obviously worked out for you this long. So, what is the fifth reason, Stephen, that most startups fail?
It's really gets down to marketing, and it's really ineffective marketing, and not looking with experts. And it doesn't mean hiring a marketing company and spending all the money there, but it's just having an upfront strategic marketing plan. And with that, you have a realistic budget. You've got to spend within what your budget is, especially, in the beginning, you're going to spend more on marketing. But when you do it, I really, really believe, and I always try to teach people, use a laser focused marketing tool. Go after your highest percent, your highest potential demographics. You can't be everything to anyone. So if I launched one time, it was a blood pressure monitor. It's been on TV that was green, yellow, red to tell an elderly person, very large digit. And what I did was we focused it. And I focused it towards that baby boomer. I wasn't marketing towards a millennial. And then you can't be everything, and you're spending your money more wisely. The other thing that I really love, it's a marketing term called under the radar. And that's a strategic marketing where you don't spend a lot of money. You create a buzz, you get word of mouth out there, you create a consistent brand message is what I always try to do, so that the best advertising isn't you running an ad on TV or somebody reading it, because a wall goes up when you see that somebody's trying to sell me, is word of mouth. Having your neighbor, having your friend tell you that they just have the greatest new product, that is 100 times better than any kind of money you could ever spend. It gets back to reviews and getting back to finding ways to make that person communicate and give them an incentive. When somebody loves something, they love to scream about it, and that's what you want to achieve.
Yeah, marketing is one of those topics that it feels like, from all the entrepreneurs I talk to, is one that a lot of people aren't very, I guess, experienced in. They're not comfortable. They don't really know how to do it. And the thing is, 80% of your success in business comes down to marketing. And so many entrepreneurs make the mistake of thinking it's all about the product, right? If
Mhm.
I have the best product out there, people are going to find me, they're going to buy it, it's going to go off the shelves, et
Yep.
cetera, et cetera. But it's not the best product that wins at the end of the day. Who wins is the one that has the best marketing. And I guess kind of a silly example here might be McDonald's, right? We all know that McDonald's does not have the
Well,
best, yeah, they don't have the best product, right? I mean, who knows what quality their burgers are? We don't need to go there, but they sell more burgers than anyone in the world. But it's not because they have the best product. It's because they have the best marketing. And like you said, the emblematic arches, I'm loving it. They start them young with the Happy Meals, make them lifelong. There's just so much that McDonald's is doing right, but having the best product is not one of those reasons. So that's great.
funny story on that though, with those arches. Whether I traveled so much into China and I see the yellow arches, I just know the quality. It's the branding. But I would know, my children, when they were babies, they saw the yellow arches. I mean, even our dog, I think, knew when we got near the McDonald's, saw the yellow arches. So it's that branding, and that's what it's all about: is creating an image that you're consistent brand message. When you have a McDonald's, a perfect example, I'm in the middle of China or I'm in the middle of New York City, they're exactly the same. That's the consistency of a brand.
So again, if marketing's not your forte, that just means you should find an agency or find a joint venture partner that knows how to do marketing. It's not a reason to not follow your dream, just on a side note. All right. And number 6, Stephen, what is the sixth and final reason that most startups fail?
You almost stated it a second ago, and it's really just not having the experience. And what that means is that you don't have the experience, and that you have to listen to the experts. I've been doing it for over 30 years, developing, launching products on TV, and I've learned more and more from other people, other mentors, and other experts. And as I said, competitive shopping, you don't try to reinvent the wheel. And most people go in and they just don't have the experience, and they don't do the upfront research, what we've talked about, and they don't understand how they have to differentiate themselves, whether it be their brand message, so they're the leader in that category that they're at. And by doing this, they don't understand how to deal with the retail buyer or how to deal with the consumer. Again, as I said, being a retail buyer most of my life, I know how that brain thinks. And what you have to do is you have to understand when you're launching a product, how we would do a floor set, how you have an open to buy, which is the budget they have to spend per month. And you have to realize that if you want to go into a category and you want to go into space on the floor, you're competing against everything. Too many times I hear new inventors always say, my product is so different, there's nothing else like it. But they don't understand what I'm trying to explain is to a buyer to get into a retail store, it's got to not only be different, but it has to fit within a category. It's taking up space, which means it's taking up money and space from another selling product that they sell already. So it's all these little bits of experience that we try to teach people and hold their hand and walk them through from our experience. And it's like, raising a child. You really want a person to sometimes make a mistake, but you're there that the mistake isn't falling off the cliff mistake, but as you said, but you want it to be there to guide the person from experience of all failures, like you mentioned. That experience and failure is sometimes more precious. Like I mentioned you on that tablet, I learned my lesson. Never again, when I develop a product in electronics, I don't make sure that it's written in bold letters. It seems simple to somebody. Peeling off a label may not be simple to a consumer. And you've got to look through the eyes of the consumer, whoever your demographics is. And that takes experience. I cannot stress that enough. It's probably one of the most important reasons why people fail.
And clearly your experience is, just overflowing as people are starting to hear you speak more and more, Stephen. The amount of experience you've accumulated in your life is just profound, to say the least. And, I want to share the secret of success with everybody, because a lot of people are seeking, what is the secret to success? Like, how do some people do it? Well, most people don't do it. Like, what do they have that I don't have? What do I need to do that I'm not doing right now? What is the secret to success? And I'll tell you, it's actually quite simple. And I've used it my whole life. I'm sure you have in different capacities too, Stephen. But the secret to success is as simple as this, folks. You got to find somebody or a group of people that are already achieving the results that you desire. Think about it. If you align yourself, if you learn from, if you partner with, or if you just work with, whatever again that capacity is, somebody or a team of people that are getting the results you want, then the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's only inevitable that if you're doing the same things that they're doing, that you're going to achieve similar results. So to your other point, Stephen, it's a win or a learn equation here. There's no win or lose, right? The traditional cliche. It's win or learn. And as long as you look at every temporary setback, AKA failure, as an opportunity to learn, you really haven't lost it all. And that allows you to kind of, go past your limit of comfort in the name of learning, not losing. So the whole win or learn mantra is something that we try to bestow and really ingrain in people that we help. But yeah, lack of experience is definitely one of the biggest reasons that people fail. You don't know what you don't know. And so that's why, again, we have hundreds of people that come to us every week because they want our experience, right? They don't want to go out there and have to figure things out on their own. They don't want things to take more time or more money than they need to. And of course, they don't want to hear their spouse chirping in their ear. You know, they want to have more confidence. So when they go out there with their brainchild and manifest it, they know that they're within a framework that already works. And that, my friends, is what's key. So we've covered a lot today, Stephen. Gems popped out left and right. I hope everybody watching was able to pick up and learn something. But any final thoughts or advice you'd like to leave everyone with?
You said it clearly. Is when I was a retail department store divisional merchandise manager, I always taught the buyers, because I was taught that way, listen to learn. And you learn, if you listen, what you do is you listen to the experts and you don't try to reinvent the wheel. You've got to be flexible and objective and willing to change and pivot when needed. Then, as I said again, research, doing all the research up front, having credibility and know your category is imperative. But finally, it gets down to just preparing upfront a budget, a marketing plan, a product development plan. Those are all the things that we try to teach people so that they don't fail. Because if you follow a process, and like you said, it's product is important, but it's mostly about the marketing of a product, developing the product properly. You have a much more probability you're going to succeed.
Absolutely. Well said, Stephen. Thank you so much. I guess at the end of the day, everyone, success is a choice and failure is inevitable. So when you keep those two things in mind, it should give you some confidence, because if you expect some level of failure to exist, you won't be scared away the first time things get tough. As far as success being a choice, you know, again, it is within your control. It is within your hands, but you got to believe in yourself and you got to go out there and you got to get started yesterday. Right? You can't afford to wait another day while you watch somebody else beat you to market. You know, if your dream is important to you and you want to change your life, get off your butt, go out there and start going at it, right? You only live once. So you might as well go out there and make sure you don't have any regrets later. And so, you know, I'd love if you could leave some comments down below. Have you ever had a business that failed? Have any of these reasons been the reason that you failed, or maybe you didn't even get started at the beginning? Leave your comments. We do read all of them, and we're happy to get back to you. And if there's any way we can help, we always will. And so until next time, the American dream is closer than you even know. That's it. To your success, we're out.